You feel that. That tightness in your chest. That voice in your head telling you, don't do it, you might fail. That's fear. And let me tell you something right now. Fear is a liar. It doesn't protect you. It paralyzes you. It doesn't keep you safe. It keeps you stuck. See, most people let fear write their story. They let it dictate their moves, hold back their greatness, steal their dreams. But not you. Not today. Today, you grab fear by the throat and you look it in the eye. You say, you will know control because the life you want, it's on the other side of fear. And the only way to get there, run toward it, face it, fight it. This ain't about being fearless. It's about being courageous in spite of fear. So ask yourself, are you going to let fear win? Or are you going to rise? Fear is deceptive. It pretends to protect you, but actually holds you back. Fear is one of the most powerful and primal emotions known to human beings. It's hardwired into our brains, a survival mechanism meant to keep us safe from danger. In its purest form, fear serves a real purpose. It's the reason we don't touch fire, step too close to the edge of a cliff, or walk into a lion's den. But what happens when fear stops protecting us and starts controlling us? That's the kind of fear we're talking about. Not survival fear, but the kind of fear that whispers to you in quiet moments. The kind that paralyzes your potential. That talks you out of your dreams before you even try. The fear of failure. The fear of judgment. The fear of rejection. That kind of fear is deceptive. The illusion of safety. See, this kind of fear doesn't look like a monster. It looks like comfort. It looks like playing it safe. It disguises itself as caution, logic, even wisdom. It'll say, let's just wait until the timing is right. Or, you're not ready yet. It pretends to be your friend. You're protecting your advisor. But in reality, it's a thief. A thief that steals time, robs opportunity, and suffocates potential. It tells you it's keeping you from harm, when really, it's keeping you from growth. Let's say you have a dream to start a business, switch careers, get on stage, write that book, or move to a new country. Fear will come and dress like a concerned parent. What if you fail? What if people laugh at you? What if you lose everything? And those questions sound reasonable. But here's the truth most of the time. Fear isn't pointing to real threats. It's pointing to imagined ones. Imaginary chains. Most fears in modern life aren't rooted in real physical danger. They're rooted in emotional vulnerability. And that's what makes them so deceptive. They create boundaries and barriers in your mind that don't even exist in reality. Think of an elephant tied to a tiny rope. It has the strength to break free, but it doesn't, even though nothing is stopping it. Why? Because when it was younger, that rope held it down. It learned over time that escape wasn't possible, so now it doesn't try. That's what fear does to us. It trains us to believe that the walls around us are real when in fact they're mental. That we are too weak, too inexperienced, too late, or too flawed to act. Comfort V's growth. Here's the trap: fear offers you comfort, and comfort is seductive. It says, stay here. This is safe. This is familiar. But comfort and growth cannot coexist. Every single thing you want, that next level in your life, your career, your relationships, your purpose, it's all outside your comfort zone. And you can't reach it unless you're willing to be uncomfortable, unless you're willing to face fear head on. Think about any great success story, any entrepreneur, artist, leader, or athlete. They didn't get where they are by avoiding fear. They got there by walking through it. They felt the fear and moved anyway. The cost of playing it safe, you might think avoiding fear keeps you safe, but what it really does is cost you time. It costs you joy. It costs you fulfillment. How many ideas have died in the minds of people too afraid to act? How many dreams were buried under the weight of what if? How many people spend their lives watching from the sidelines because they were too afraid to step into the game? Every time you choose safety over courage, you reinforce fear's power. You give it more control. You let it shrink your world a little more. And the longer you do it, the harder it becomes to break free. Until one day you look back and realize you didn't live the life you wanted. You lived the one fear allowed. Fear lies in the shadows of potential. There's a reason fear shows up strongest right before a breakthrough. Because fear is always greatest when the stakes are high. It shows up not because you're weak, but because what you're about to do matters. That nervousness, that anxiety, that pressure, it's not a sign to back off. It's a sign you're on the right path. Fear is like a guard dog. It only barks when someone's near the gate. That means your potential, your greatness is close by. So what do most people do when they hear that bark? They run the other way. But the ones who win, they walk toward it. They know fear isn't a stop sign. It's a signal that you're about to enter new territory, expand your limits, level up your life. How to see through the deception once you recognize fear for what it really is. A mental barrier, not a real one. You start to see through the lies. You start asking better questions. What's the worst that could actually happen? What's the cost of not trying? Who am I becoming if I keep choosing fear? Because truth is, fear can't stop you. Only you can. Fear has no hands, no feet, no voice. It only has the power you give it. The most dangerous thing about fear is not the feeling. It's the obedience. It's when you treat fear like truth instead of a test. But once you learn to sit with fear, question it, and keep moving anyway, you take your power back. Courage is a muscle. Every time you face fear and act anyway, you build mental muscle. You condition yourself for courage. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. The bark gets quieter. The shadows get smaller. You start to trust yourself. You begin to see that fear is just a part of the journey, not the end of the road. Nobody becomes fearless. But the people who succeed aren't the ones who eliminate fear. They're the ones who become familiar with it, comfortable being uncomfortable. They stop letting fear be a dictator and start treating it like a signal. Final thoughts don't be fooled. So the next time fear shows up, and it will, don't be fooled. Don't mistake its disguise for wisdom. Don't confuse hesitation for protection. Look fear in the face and ask it, are you trying to help me or hold me back? Because if fear is keeping you from stepping up, speaking out, starting fresh, or chasing your vision, it's not protecting you. It's limiting you and your life, your dreams, your purpose. They're too important to let fear drive the car. You don't need fear's permission. You just need to decide right now that you're not going to lie small just to feel safe. Because fear may knock at your door, but it's up to you whether you let it in. Fear often works in the background, subtly influencing your decisions, actions, and mindset without you even realizing it. It's like an invisible hand that shapes the direction of your life, pushing you to take safer, more cautious routes, avoiding risks, and staying within the confines of what feels comfortable. This invisible force, at first, may appear to be keeping you safe, helping you avoid harm or failure. But as time goes on, it becomes clear that this safety net is nothing more than a trap, cage that holds you back from realizing your full potential. What's most dangerous about fear is how it operates under the radar. It doesn't shout at you. It whispers in your ear, telling you that you're not ready, that you're not good enough, or that the risks are simply too high. It's the voice that pops up when you're about to take a leap of faith, suggesting that maybe it's better to wait, maybe it's better to stay where it's familiar. It convinces you that comfort is the goal and that striving for more is unnecessary, even reckless. The longer you listen to this voice, the more power it gains over you. It's not just a passing feeling. It becomes a part of your identity, shaping how you view yourself and your abilities. For most people, fear isn't an isolated experience. It's a consistent pattern in their lives, showing up every time they're about to step outside their comfort zone. It doesn't just affect big decisions, but even the small ones. Whether to take on a new project, whether to speak up in a meeting, whether to apply for that dream job, or whether to even attempt to pursue a passion. Over time, these small instances where fear winds accumulate, creating a life full of missed opportunities and regret. It's as if fear has been writing the script for your life all along, but you haven't been aware of it. Every time you let fear take control, it writes another chapter where you settle, where you opt for the easy path, where you hold yourself back. The problem with letting fear dictate your actions is that it begins to shape your reality in ways you might not even notice. You start to think that avoiding fear is the smart choice, that staying safe and comfortable is the best way to live. But this mindset stunts your growth. It tells you that security is more valuable than success. That staying where you are is better than taking a risk, even if it means you'll never experience what's on the other side. You become more cautious, more guarded, and more reluctant to make moves, even when those moves could bring immense rewards. Fear also has a way of magnifying the potential dangers in any given situation, exaggerating the risks until they feel insurmountable. It's not content with just warning you of possible failure. It wants you to believe that failure is inevitable, that the stakes are so high that it's better not to try at all. It convinces you that you can't possibly handle what's ahead, that the outcome will always be negative, and that trying is simply not worth it. It thrives on your insecurities and doubts, convincing you that playing it safe is the most rational choice, even if it leads to a life of stagnation. When you let fear control your decisions, you also let it limit your potential. You stop taking chances. And with each missed opportunity, you begin to shrink. You shrink your dreams, your ambitions, your vision for your future. Fear convinces you that you're not cut out for greatness, that you're not equipped to handle the challenges that come with pursuing your dreams. It convinces that you're better off where you are, that the risks involved are too great, and that you should just be grateful for what you have. But this kind of thinking traps you in a cycle of mediocrity where you settle for less than what you deserve, all because you've allowed fear to shape your narrative. One of the most insidious aspects of fear is its ability to spread like a virus. It doesn't just stop at one area of your life. Once it takes root, it begins to infiltrate every decision you make. Fear tells you that you're too old to start something new, too inexperienced to make a big change, too late to chase after something that excites you. It convinces you that the time for bold moves has passed, that your window of opportunity is closing. And because this voice of fear sounds so reasonable, so logical, it can be easy to buy into. You begin to believe that time is your enemy, that you're running out of it, that it's too late to take risks, to step out of your comfort zone, to push beyond your limitations. But here's the truth: fear is not a rational force. It distorts reality, making you believe that avoiding discomfort is the same thing as avoiding failure, but in reality, it's the opposite. By allowing fear to make your choices, you're actively choosing to avoid the discomfort of growth, which is the very thing that could lead to your success. Every time you avoid discomfort, you avoid progress. And as a result, you end up staying in the same place with the same fears year after year. You miss out on opportunities to evolve, to become the person you're capable of being. Fear also often masks itself as logic or caution, making you think that playing it safe is the wisest choice. It tells you that you're being responsible, that you're being sensible by not taking risks. But if you dig deeper, you'll realize that this so-called wisdom is just another form of self-preservation. And in many cases, it's more about protecting your ego than actually ensuring your long-term success. Playing it safe doesn't always lead to security. It often leads to regret. The truth is, security is an illusion. Life doesn't offer guarantees, and avoiding risk doesn't eliminate the possibility of failure. It just ensures you never experience the fullness of your potential. What's worse is that fear often clouds your judgment, making it difficult to see past immediate discomfort and uncertainty. It forces you to focus on the possible consequences of failure. What might go wrong? What could happen if things don't work out? Instead of helping you see the possibilities for success, the growth that could come from taking the risk. This type of thinking keeps you trapped in the what if. cycle, preventing you from ever taking action. You spend all your time thinking about what could go wrong, never fully considering what could go right. Over time, fear becomes more than just a response to specific situations. It becomes a lifestyle, a way of thinking that dictates how you approach every challenge. The longer you live in this fear-driven mindset, the harder it becomes to break free. Because you become accustomed to avoiding risks, to staying within your comfort zone, to playing it safe. But with each day that passes, you give fear more power over your life. You lose the ability to take bold steps, to make decisions that require you to step outside what feels comfortable. In reality, the only way to overcome fear is by facing it directly. You can't keep running from it, pretending it's not there, or waiting for it to go away. The longer you avoid it, the more it will control you. But once you start pushing past it, you begin to see that the power it once held over you was just an illusion. By acting in spite of your fear, or you break the cycle of inaction. You build resilience, you build confidence, and most importantly, you build a life that's free from the limits that fear once imposed on you. Fear doesn't protect you. It holds you back. And the moment you recognize that, you can begin to free yourself from its grip. The next time you feel fear creeping in, don't let it decide your fate. Push through it, take the risk, and watch as your world expands in ways you never imagined. Fear is an insidious force that has the power to paralyze even the most driven individuals. It doesn't just stop you from taking action. It creates a mental block that keeps you from moving forward, from progressing, from growing. The feeling of being paralyzed by fear is not just about feeling nervous or anxious. It's about being stuck in a place where you feel like you can't make progress, no matter how hard you try. It's the feeling that you hit a wall, and no matter how many times you approach it, you can't find a way around it. It's the quiet voice in your head that tells you, you can't do this. And instead of challenging it, you choose to listen. This paralysis comes in many forms. It can look like procrastination, where you put off tasks, even though you know you should be working on them. You tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow, but tomorrow never comes. It can look like self-doubt, where you second-guess your abilities and hesitate to take risks because you fear the possibility of failure. It can be the fear of judgment or rejection, where you're afraid to speak your truth, to ask for what you want, or to take the leap towards something new because you're worried about what others might think of you. The thing is, this paralysis is often born out of a deep fear of failure, but it doesn't just stop at failure. It creates a self-perpetuating cycle. The more you fear failure, the more you avoid action, and the more you avoid action, the less likely you are to succeed. Fear convinces you that it's better to stay where you are, even if it's not where you truly want to be, because at least it's familiar. The unknown, with all its potential for disappointment or failure, feels far more threatening than remaining in a situation that's less than ideal. But what fear doesn't tell you is that staying in that place of stagnation is a form of failure in itself. Paralysis also occurs when fear convinces you that the stakes are too high, that the risks involved are too great. It tells you that you can't afford to fail because failure would mean losing everything. Your reputation, your resources, your confidence. But that's simply not true. Failure is part of the process. It's a lesson, not a death sentence. The real failure comes not when you try and fail, but when you don't try at all. If you don't take the leap, you'll never know what you could have achieved. If you don't risk the fall, you'll never know the thrill of soaring. One of the most significant aspects of fear's paralyzing grip is that it's often rooted in what you think others will think of you. The fear of judgment is powerful, and it can stop you from acting even when you know deep down that what you're doing is important. Fear tells you that if you fail, people will laugh at you, criticize you, or think less of you. But the truth is, most people are too focused on their own lives to pay as much attention to your failures as you fear. The ones who do notice your failure might offer judgment, but they won't define you unless you let them. The opinions of others are only as powerful as you allow them to be. When you stop letting the fear of others, opinions control your actions, you free yourself from the paralysis that holds you back. The longer you let fear control you, the more it becomes a habit. It's like a muscle that gets stronger every time you give into it. And just like any habit, it can be broken. But it requires effort and conscious action. The first step is to acknowledge that fear is influencing your choices, to recognize it for what it is. A mental barrier, not a real obstacle. Fear often masquerades as a reasonable decision maker, but it's not a rational force. It's an emotional one, designed to keep you safe by keeping you in your comfort zone. However, comfort does not equal growth. And growth is what you need to break free from the paralysis of fear. When you push through the paralysis, when you act in spite of the fear, you begin to break its power over you. With every small action you take, you build momentum. With every risk you take, you gain confidence. Fear becomes less of a barrier and more of a sign that you're moving in the right direction. The more you face it, the more you see that the obstacles it creates are often not as formidable as they seem. You learn that the real power is in action, not in avoiding fear. Once you take that first step, you begin to realize that it wasn't the fear that was stopping you. It was your own hesitation, your own reluctance to step into the unknown. Paralysis is a mental trap, one that can feel all-consuming. But it's important to remember that it's not permanent. It doesn't define you. It's not a reflection of your abilities or your potential. It's just a result of fear getting in the way. But fear is something you can control. You can choose to acknowledge it, to feel it, and then to move past it. Because the only way to defeat paralysis is through action. The more you act, the more you break free from fear's grip. And with every step forward, you'll begin to realize that the paralyzing hold it once had over you was always an illusion. Once you start moving, once you start taking action in spite of fear, the path becomes clear. The barriers begin to shrink. The once overwhelming obstacles become manageable. And what once paralyzed you becomes just another challenge to face and conquer. Fear may never fully go away, but you'll learn how to move in spite of it, how to rise above it, and how to turn it from an obstacle into a tool for growth. When you face fear, you are confronted with the very thing that limits your roof is actually a creation of your mind. You begin to recognize that the greatest obstacles you face are often internal rather than external. The challenges you encounter may be difficult, but it is the fear of those challenges that truly holds you back. Once you embrace the discomfort, the uncertainty, and the risks, you begin to discover a strength that was always within you but had been dormant, waiting for you to acknowledge it. Every time you push through fear, you break down the mental walls that keep you small. These walls, constructed by self-doubt, worry, and the false belief that failure is something to be avoided at all costs, fall away as you learn to take action despite them. Each time you face fear and keep moving forward, you learn a little bit more about your true strength. You realize that the fear you once thought was so powerful, even when things don't go as planned. Real growth happens when you stop seeing fear as something to avoid and start seeing it as an opportunity to learn and improve. It is in these moments of discomfort and challenge that your greatest opportunities lie. Every risk you take, every action you take despite fear is a step toward unlocking a new level of your potential. Fear doesn't exist to stop you. It exists to test you, to push you, and to help you realize what you're truly capable of achieving. When you begin to see fear as a signal that you're about to grow, rather than as a warning to stop, everything shifts. Instead of avoiding it, you actively seek it out because you know that each time you confront it, you are becoming more of the person you are meant to be. The pursuit of growth requires a willingness to face discomfort head on. There is no growth without challenge, and there is no progress without change. You cannot expect to evolve into a stronger, more capable version of yourself if you continue to play it safe. If you continue to avoid the very experiences that will stretch your limits and help you realize your true potential, this is where fear's deceptive nature lies. It convinces you that the way to protect yourself is to stay safe and comfortable, but that is exactly what prevents you from growing. Growth comes when you move through your discomfort, when you break through your fears, and when you take bold action, even when the outcome is uncertain. The process of growth requires that you step outside the familiar and into the unknown. When you choose to face your fear, you begin to open yourself to new opportunities, new experiences, and new versions of yourself that you would have never encountered if you had stayed within the confines of your comfort zone. When you push through fear, you challenge your own beliefs about what you're capable of. You begin to see yourself in a new light, realizing that you are much more capable, much stronger, and much more resilient than you ever thought possible. Every challenge you face and every fear you conquer helps to shape the person you are becoming, the person who is able to handle greater challenges, take on bigger goals, and ultimately achieve more than you ever thought possible. You have a choice. You can either listen to the voice of fear, let it control your actions, and stay in your comfort zone. Or you can choose to face that fear, to challenge it, and to push through it. Every time you make the decision to act despite your fear, you make a decision to grow, to become stronger, and to move closer to the person you were meant to be. You start taking control of your narrative and stop letting fear write the story for you. Remember, success doesn't come without risk. It doesn't come from staying comfortable or avoiding the unknown. It comes from stepping into uncertainty, from taking the leap, even when you don't know exactly how things will turn out. Success comes from embracing fear, not running from it. It's about accepting that failure is a part of the process, not something to be avoided, but something to be learned from. And every failure is one step closer to success. The path to growth is paved with discomfort. It's paved with moments where fear tries to tell you that you're not ready, that you can't do it. But those moments are your greatest opportunities. When you face fear head on, you unlock a new level of strength, resilience, and courage. You show yourself just how powerful you truly are. And you realize that the only thing standing between you and your dreams is the fear you've been carrying with you all this time. When you learn to push past fear, you begin to see that the fear itself was never the problem. The problem was allowing it to hold you back, allowing it to control your decisions, to dictate your actions, and to shape your reality. When you make the choice to act in spite of fear, you break free from the constraints that it has placed on you. You create space for something greater, the life you've always dreamed of. You are not defined by your fears. You are defined by how you face them. You are defined by the courage you show when it's hardest to take the next step. You are defined by your ability to keep moving forward, even when the odds seem stacked against you. Every time you choose to act despite the fear, you become more than you were yesterday. You grow stronger, wiser, and more capable of handling whatever challenges come your way. I want to leave you with this final thought aid. Fear will always be there. It will always try to stop you, to hold you back, to convince you that you're not enough, that you can't handle what's ahead. But you are stronger than fear. You are capable of so much more than fear will ever let you believe. Fear only has the power you give it. The moment you stop letting it dictate your life, you take back control. The moment you stop running from it and start moving through it, you unlock the doors to your greatest potential. So the next time fear shows up, don't retreat. Don't shrink back into your comfort zone. Step forward with courage. Step forward with confidence. And know that the other side of fear is freedom. Freedom to become the person you were always meant to be. Take action. Push through. And let fear be the fuel that drives you toward the life you've always dreamed of. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for choosing to take this journey toward overcoming fear. The choice is yours now. Embrace it and step into the greatness that awaits you. You've got this.